My husband died before I could reach the hospital, but he left me a single voice note, a message recorded just minutes before his heart stopped. I thought it would be a goodbye. I thought it would be love, or regret, or something comforting. But instead, he confessed something that shattered 32 years of marriage in 32 seconds. A secret he hid from me our entire life. A truth so devastating. I couldn't even cry. I just stood there, listening to his voice one last time, as everything I believed about him fell apart. And when the message ended, I realized my husband didn't just die. He left behind a storm I never knew existed. The hospital room smelled like disinfectant and fading hope. Machines beeped in slow, uneven patterns, the kind that tell you someone is trying to hold on. I didn't reach him in time. By the time I pushed the door open, my husband, Michael, lay still. Cold. Quiet. His wedding ring looked heavier than ever on his unmoving hand. For a moment, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just froze. 32 years of marriage. 32 years of promises, fights, memories, late-night talks, Christmas mornings, and growing old together. All ending in a single silent moment. A nurse touched my arm gently. "Mrs. Carter, he left you a voice message." It came through right before he passed. My throat tightened. "A message?" She nodded, her eyes soft with pity. "He asked us to hand you his phone. He wanted to make sure you heard it." My fingers trembled as I took his phone, the screen still glowing. One voicemail. One. Time, 11:58 p.m. Just 6 minutes before he died. My heart was beating so loudly I could barely breathe. I pressed play. "Hannah, if you're listening, I'm gone." His voice cracked in the first second. I felt the world tilt beneath me. "There's something I never told you. Something I should have said years ago. I'm so sorry. I hid it from you." My stomach twisted. His breathing was rough, fading. "What I did, it wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. And you deserve the truth long before now." I felt a cold wave crawl up my spine. "You're going to find a letter. It's in the blue box under our bed. Please, please read it alone. It explains everything." The message ended with a broken inhale. Then silence. Not peace, but the kind of silence that screams. I sank to the hospital floor, the phone slipping out of my hand. What could be so big, so terrible, that he chose to confess it with his dying breath? And why did he say it wasn't a mistake? It was a choice. Those words tore something open inside me. Whatever truth he hid, it wasn't small. It wasn't harmless. It was something that could redefine our entire life. And I wasn't ready. Not even close. But I also knew this. Once I listened to that voice note, there was no turning back. I drove home in silence. No radio. No tears. Just the sound of my heartbeat. Uneven, angry, confused. Every streetlight blurred as I passed it, but not because I was crying. It was because I felt like I wasn't even inside my own body anymore. When I reached the house, it felt wrong. Like stepping into a stranger's home wearing my own skin. I closed the door behind me and leaned on it, exhaling shakily. Michael's shoes were still by the hallway. His jacket still hanging where he always left it. His mug, half-finished coffee inside, sitting on the kitchen counter. Everything looked normal. But nothing was normal. Not after that message. The blue box. The one he mentioned. I stood in the living room for a solid minute, staring at the hallway that led to our bedroom. I didn't want to move, because walking toward that room meant walking toward a truth I might not survive. But I forced myself to take one step, then another, and another. When I opened our bedroom door, the smell of his cologne hit me, warm and familiar. It made my chest ache. I knelt down beside the bed and lifted the frame. Dust, forgotten socks, an old photo album. And then, a blue box. Small, neat, perfectly intact. Exactly where he said it would be. My hands shook violently as I slid it out. For a moment, I hesitated, because after this, nothing would be the same. But I opened it. Inside was a single envelope, white, unmarked, heavy. My breath hitched as I tore it open. The letter wasn't typed, it was handwritten. Michael's handwriting. Shaky, rushed, uneven. His first sentence made my blood run cold. "Hannah, the man you married isn't the man you think I am." I stared at it, my mind refusing to process the words. I read the next line. I kept a part of my life hidden from you for 32 years. My heart dropped. Hidden life. Another woman. Another child. An affair. A criminal past. My mind kept racing. I kept reading. This secret was never supposed to reach you. But now that I'm gone, the truth will find you anyway. The edges of the paper cut into my fingers because I was gripping it too hard. My breathing quickened. I read the next line. A single sentence. A devastating one. Hannah, I'm not who you think I am. In fact, I'm not even the name I gave you. My entire body froze. My stomach twisted. What? What did that mean? I read it again. And again. My husband, the man I slept beside, fought with, loved, built a life with, wasn't who he said he was. My throat tightened, so hard I couldn't swallow. The walls felt closer. The air felt thinner. I sat there on the bedroom floor, gripping that letter like it held the last oxygen in the world. Because suddenly I realized I didn't know my husband at all. And whatever secret he left behind, it was just beginning. My pulse hammered in my ears as I held that letter. I felt the room tilt, my vision narrowing, like my mind was trying to shield me from the truth printed on the page. I forced myself to keep reading. My real name isn't Michael Carter. I changed it before I met you. My mouth went dry. Changed it. People didn't just change their entire identity without a reason. I kept reading, my fingers trembling. I never told you because I wanted to keep you safe. From my past, and from the people connected to it. Safe from what? People? Past. The words felt like knives. My husband, the gentle man who made pancakes on Sundays, who fixed the porch swing every spring, who kissed my forehead every night, was hinting at something dark, something dangerous. I turned the page. The next paragraph shattered the last bit of comfort I had. Before you knew me, I worked for a man you've heard about on the news, not as a criminal, but too close to one. I stopped breathing. What man? What news? I scanned the next lines desperately. I wasn't a villain. I wasn't hurting anyone. But I was involved. In things I should have walked away from. My chest tightened. This man, the husband I trusted, was confessing a life I knew nothing about. He had lived an entire chapter before me. A chapter he erased. But his next line chilled me to the bone. I didn't just change my name. I disappeared. The letter trembled in my hands. Disappeared? From whom? Or from what? My legs felt numb as I kept reading. When I met you, I was already running. Not from the law, but from a choice I didn't stop soon enough. My stomach twisted. Was he protecting me? Or dragging me into something without my consent? My heartbeat felt uneven. I stopped reading and grabbed the edge of the bed for stability. The room felt like it was closing in on me, suffocating, tight, unfamiliar, even though it was my home. I took a deep breath and continued. You'll get a letter within a few days, not from me, but from someone who knows what I did. They'll want something from you. A cold chill shot through my spine. Someone was going to contact me. Someone related to his hidden life. Someone who already knew he was dead. I clutched the paper so hard it crinkled. The letter ended with one last line that felt like a warning. And a plea. Whatever they say, do not believe their version of the story. Believe mine. I love you. I always tried to protect you. I stared at the signature. It wasn't signed Michael. Not even close. A completely different name. A name I'd never seen before. Daniel Ward. My husband's real name. My throat closed as the truth slammed into me. Michael, Daniel, the man I loved for 32 years, was someone I didn't even know. And whoever he ran from, they were coming for me next. I stared at the letter for what felt like hours. My husband, Daniel, not Michael, had lived a life I never even touched. A hidden past. A hidden name. A hidden danger. The room felt colder, even though the heater hummed softly. I finally forced myself to stand, my legs barely supporting me. I needed air. I needed space. I needed reality. The moment I stepped into the hallway, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket. I flinched. A known number. My breath stuttered. It was too soon. Too soon after reading that letter. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The buzzing stopped. Then started again. Same number. My chest tightened, fear sliding through me like ice water. I let it ring. Voicemail. But there was no message, just silence. I pressed my back to the wall, breathing hard, feeling the phone like a burning weight in my hand. Suddenly, a notification popped up. New message. Unknown number. My heart dropped. I opened it with shaking fingers. Mrs. Carter? Or should I say, Mrs. Ward? My condolences. We need to talk. My blood ran cold. No one should have known that name. Not yet. Not unless they already knew his secret. Before I did, I sank to the floor, clutching the phone, my pulse pounding in my ears. The next message appeared before I could even think. He told you something before he died, didn't he? My throat tightened so badly it hurt. They knew. They knew he left a message. They knew he told me the truth, or part of it. But how? I typed nothing. Every instinct screamed not to respond. Another message came. Don't make this harder. We've been waiting 32 years. I froze. We. Not a person. A group. Someone else was involved. Multiple someones. The room felt darker. Heavier. My mind raced through 100 possibilities. Criminals, government agencies, old enemies, old debts, the man on the news he mentioned. Who were they? And what did they want from me? The phone buzzed again. We know where you live. You can't run like he did. A cold wave slammed through my chest. I felt my hands go numb. My breath became short and sharp. I dropped the phone on the floor like it burned me. My husband, Daniel, had been running from something for decades. And now that he was gone, they were coming for me instead. I stumbled to the window and pulled the curtain just an inch. An unfamiliar black sedan sat across the street. Engine on. Lights off. Motionless. Watching. I stepped back instantly, heart racing. For the first time in 32 years of marriage, I realized I was alone. Truly alone. And I didn't know who I could trust. But I knew one thing with chilling clarity. Whatever my husband did, it didn't die with him. It was about to land directly on my doorstep. I stood frozen in the middle of my living room, staring at the black sedan through a tiny slit in the curtain. It hadn't moved. Not an inch. Not even a flicker of movement inside. Just watching. I felt my knees go weak. I wanted to call someone. A friend. A neighbor. The police. But what would I say? Hi. My husband died. Left me a confession he changed his identity, and now a stranger knows and is parked outside my house. They'd think I was the one losing my mind. I paced the room, gripping my arms, trying to steady my breathing. The phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look, but I did. Unknown number. Open the door. We just want to talk. My chest tightened, so hard I thought I'd faint. No, absolutely not. I typed back before I could stop myself. Me. Go away. I'm calling the police. The reply came instantly. Unknown number. Do that. We'd love to explain everything to them. My throat closed. They weren't afraid. Not even a little. I backed up until I hit the wall. Why weren't they scared of the police? Unless whatever this was, went deeper than I understood. Another message. Unknown number. Your husband trusted us once. You should too. My anger flared through the fear. Trusted you? If Daniel trusted you, why was he hiding for 32 years? Why did he change his name? Why did he warn me in a dying breath? I wiped tears from my cheeks and typed, Me. Tell me who you are. For a moment, there was no response. The room felt silent, but heavy, like the walls were waiting too. Then, unknown number. Step outside. I'll tell you face to face. A chill shot through my entire body. Step outside. Out there. Onto the porch. Toward that silent car. Absolutely not. But then another message appeared. Unknown number. If you don't, we'll come inside. My breath left my lungs. I stared at those words until they blurred. Inside. They'd come inside. I stumbled backward, my hands searching for anything. A chair, a lamp, something I could use. Nothing felt safe. The doorbell rang. I jumped so hard the phone slipped from my hand. The bell rang again, and again, and again, louder each time. I edged toward the hallway, ready to run, scream. Something. Then a voice came through the door. Calm. Low. Too calm. Mrs. Carter, we're not here to hurt you. But you need to hear the truth. The real truth. I froze mid-step. Their voice wasn't threatening. It wasn't angry. It sounded sad, almost apologetic. I swallowed, my voice a thin whisper. Who are you? There was a pause. Then, my name is Special Agent Monroe, and your husband wasn't running from us. He was working with us. My heart stopped. The floor felt like it was shifting beneath my feet. The man outside continued. Please open the door. We're here because the people he ran from may already be on their way. My entire world flipped upside down. Daniel wasn't hiding from the government. He was hiding with them. And the people he feared were coming for me. My hand hovered over the door handle, trembling so hard I had to grip my wrist just to steady it. Everything in me screamed, don't open it. But another voice pushed through the panic. Daniel's voice. If anything happens to me, don't trust anyone. Except the people who saved me. What did that even mean? Who saved him? Who was he running from for 32 years? And why was I suddenly part of this nightmare? I took a breath that felt like glass and unlocked the deadbolt. Slowly, carefully, I opened the door. The cold air rushed in first. Then I saw him, a tall man in a dark jacket, late 40s, badge hanging from a chain, expression firm but not hostile. The kind of man who looked tired in a way only someone who'd seen too much could. Mrs. Carter, he asked softly. I nodded, gripping the door frame to keep myself upright. He lifted his hands slowly, palms open, showing he wasn't a threat. My name is Agent Monroe, he said. Federal Witness Protection. Your husband was one of ours. I felt my knees weaken. Witness protection? Daniel? No, that didn't make sense. Why would he be in that? I whispered. He wasn't a criminal. Monroe shook his head. He wasn't. He was a whistleblower, one of the biggest we ever had. My heart froze mid-beat. Whistleblower? Daniel? He continued. Your husband exposed a private defense contractor running illegal experiments for profit. They framed him to silence him. I covered my mouth. Experiments? Framed? This was too much. Way too much. Monroe's voice lowered. He came to us for protection, and we gave him a new name, a new life. But the people he exposed never stopped looking for him. The ground swayed under me. So all these years, he was scared they'd find him. Yes, Monroe said. Not just him. Anyone close to him. A cold spike shot through my spine. Me, I whispered. He married me while hiding from killers. Monroe didn't answer immediately. And that silence hurt more than any truth. I stepped back from him. So what do you want from me? Why are you here? Monroe's jaw tightened. Because Daniel's death wasn't an accident. My breath caught. He looked me straight in the eyes. They found him. We believe they're coming for whatever he left behind. The voice note. My head started spinning. What do I do? I whispered. Monroe leaned closer, voice low and urgent. Did he leave you anything? Files. A code. A message. I swallowed, my throat burning. He left a voice note. Monroe's eyes widened, shocked, almost alarmed. A voice note? About what? I hesitated. Could I trust him? I barely understood anything myself. Maybe Daniel didn't want anyone hearing it. Monroe read my silence. Mrs. Carter, whatever he told you, it could be the only thing keeping you alive. My grip tightened on the phone in my pocket. The voice note, the thing that started all of this. What happens if I tell you? I asked quietly. Monroe's answer was instant. Then I can protect you. My heart dropped. And if I don't? He exhaled, pained. Then I'm afraid you won't survive the night. The wind blew across the porch. The night felt suddenly darker. And for the first time since Daniel died, I realized I wasn't grieving anymore. I was running. My fingers curled around my phone inside my pocket, feeling the edges like it was a lifeline or a bomb. Agent Monroe watched me too carefully, too intently. Play the voice note, he said quietly. But something in his eyes wasn't right. It wasn't fear. It wasn't urgency. It was expectation. Like he already knew what Daniel said. And that's what made my stomach twist. I stepped back from the doorway. Before I play anything, I whispered, I need to know one thing. His jaw flexed. Go on. I looked straight into his eyes. If Daniel was under federal protection, why didn't anyone tell me when he died? A pause. A long one. Too long. Monroe's expression didn't break, but his eyes flickered. 1 second. Just one. And that was enough. He lied. Or hid something. Or both. He exhaled slowly. Mrs. Carter, there were complications. The agency was... No, I cut him off. Say the truth. His silence said everything. Daniel warned me. Don't trust anyone unless I say their name. Monroe was not that person. I gripped the door harder, my voice shaking but firm. How do I even know you're real? I asked. You haven't shown me a badge number. You haven't given me a supervisor's contact. He stepped forward, a step too confident, too practiced. Evelyn, he said softly, your husband trusted me. You need to. That was it. That was the crack that opened the whole floor beneath me. I never told him my name. Not once. My blood ran cold. You need to leave, I whispered. Monroe froze. Both of us knew this was the moment everything broke open. Mrs. Carter, he said slowly, if you shut that door, you're signing your own death certificate. I didn't blink. Then I guess I'll die on my terms. I slammed the door, locked it, bolted it, then ran. Ran through the hallway, heart crashing against my ribs, hands shaking violently as I pulled out my phone. The voice note. I wasn't ready to hear it, but now I needed it. I pressed play. Daniel's voice filled the room, breathless, desperate, terrified. Evelyn, if you're hearing this, they've already breached security. It means Monroe is coming. Do not open the door for him. I froze. Everything inside me froze. Daniel continued. He isn't who he says. He worked for the contractors, the same people I exposed. He went undercover inside the agency. He's been looking for the files I stole. Files. Daniel stole files. Not money. Not evidence. Something bigger. I pressed the phone closer to my ear. If Monroe finds you, Daniel whispered, he'll kill you. You need to run to the only person I trust. His name is... Bang. A loud crash slammed into the front door. I gasped. He was forcing his way in. Daniel's voice kept playing. Go now, Evie. Before he reaches you. The name is... Crack. The wood splintered. My heart stopped. Daniel's final words spilled out in a trembling whisper. Find. Carter Gray. Carter Gray. Who the hell was that? Before I could process it, the entire doorframe shook as Monroe yelled. Evelyn. Open the door. Now. I ran to the back door without breathing. Daniel's last words echoing in my skull. Find Carter Gray. He's the only one who can save you. The back door stuck for half a second. A half second too long. Monroe slammed into the front door again, the frame groaning under the blow. I shoved my shoulder against the back door. It burst open. Cold night air hit my face as I ran into the yard, stumbling over fallen leaves, my breath sharp and ragged. Behind me, the front door finally gave way with a deafening crack. Evelyn! Monroe's voice tore through the house. He was inside. He would be in the yard in seconds. I sprinted toward the fence, grabbing the top edge and pulling myself over even as my muscles screamed. I dropped hard on the other side, knees stinging, palms burning. No time to feel pain. I ran. Down the alley. Across the street. Toward the one place Daniel always told me to avoid, the old highway. My phone buzzed in my hand. The voice note had ended. All I had now was a name. Carter Gray. Whoever he was my last hope. I reached the end of the block before I dared to look back. A dark figure stepped out onto my porch. Monroe. He scanned the yard like a predator tracking wounded prey. And then, he saw me. Our eyes met across the distance. He started running. My legs moved before my mind caught up, my lungs burning as I raced toward the empty gas station at the corner. I ducked behind an old ice machine, my chest heaving as I tried to think. Who was Carter Gray? Daniel never mentioned him. Why would he trust a stranger over me? A horn honked. I jumped. A car rolled slowly to a stop just a few feet away. A dusty black sedan. The window lowered. A man in his late 50s sat behind the wheel, calm, sharp eyes, salt and pepper beard, wearing a worn leather jacket. He looked right at me. Evelyn Carter, he asked. My heart pounded. Yes. He nodded once. I'm Carter Gray. Get in. Now. My breath caught. How did you find me? Daniel sent an automated alert when his file was accessed. His voice was steady, controlled. I promised him I'd protect you. You have about 30 seconds before Monroe turns that corner. I hesitated, trusting someone had already ruined my life. But Monroe's silhouette appeared at the far end of the street, running full speed. Carter's voice dropped. Evelyn, you don't have to trust me, but you need to survive. I grabbed the door handle and slid into the passenger seat. Carter hit the gas. The tires screeched as we sped away. Monroe lunged toward us, shouting my name, his hand slamming against the trunk as the car pulled ahead. Carter didn't flinch. He just muttered, "He's more desperate than I expected." I stared at him, my voice trembling. "Tell me the truth. Who are you really?" Carter exhaled. "I was Daniel's partner in the whistleblower program. We uncovered something bigger than corruption, something people kill to protect." He turned the wheel sharply, merging onto the dark, empty highway. Then he added, "And Daniel wasn't just working undercover. He looked at me. He was trying to keep you alive." I swallowed. "What did he find?" Carter's fingers tightened on the steering wheel. "A list," he said quietly. "Names of every official secretly being paid by a private weapons contractor." I blinked. "Why would they care about me?" Carter's jaw flexed. "Because Daniel used your name as the backup access key." My blood ran cold. "Me?" He nodded. "You're the only one who can open the files now." The car sped deeper into the darkness. "And that," Carter said, voice dropping, "is why Monroe wants you dead?" We drove for nearly 20 minutes without speaking. Just the sound of wind tearing past the car and my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Carter's face stayed focused, jaw tight, eyes scanning every passing car. Finally, he said quietly, "We're almost there." "Where?" I whispered. "A safe house. Daniel and I prepared it months ago." I stared out the window at the empty road, trying to process everything. My husband had lived a double life. My husband had trusted another man to protect me. My husband had left a voice message that was basically a warning from the grave. And now I was running, fleeing from someone I thought was a harmless coworker. My voice came out shaky. How long did he know Monroe was dangerous? Carter's answer was instant. From the very beginning. My breath hitched. He told me Monroe was just a friend, someone who helped him at the facility. Carter shook his head. Monroe was paid to watch him. To watch both of you. A chill slid through my spine. We pulled off the highway, driving down a narrow road lined with trees. At the end, an old shed stood tucked behind overgrown bushes, abandoned-looking, completely isolated. Carter parked, turned off the headlights, and motioned for me to follow. My legs felt heavy as I walked toward the shed. Inside, Carter pulled a hidden latch. A panel in the floor lifted. A staircase descended into a dim underground room filled with computers, files, and a metal table. I froze on the top step. "Daniel built this." Carter nodded. He knew something would happen. He didn't want you left defenseless. I walked down, heart pounding, scanning the walls covered in maps, documents, and encrypted notes. At the center of the table sat a small black box. Carter tapped it. "This is why they want you." I swallowed hard. "What's inside?" Carter handed me a tablet. "Touch the screen." I hesitated, then tapped it. A prompt appeared. "Enter access key. Backup authentication. Evelyn Carter." My stomach dropped. "Why me?" Carter looked straight into my eyes. "Because Daniel knew he could trust you more than anyone else. Even after everything he hid, he still knew you would do the right thing." My fingers trembled as I typed the only thing I could think of, Daniel's old security phrase. August Rain 91. The tablet beeped. Then the files opened. Rows and rows of documents filled the screen. Secret payments, offshore accounts, government officials, military contractors, coded emails, names I recognized from the news. My entire body went cold. "Carter," my voice cracked. "This could destroy the country." He nodded slowly. "It could also save it." Before I could ask another question, a soft beep echoed through the room. Carter's eyes snapped to the security monitor. A red icon flashed at the top of the screen. Perimeter breach detected. My heart lurched. "Is it Monroe?" Carter moved toward the monitor, tense. "Not just Monroe." He zoomed in on the grainy camera feed. My blood froze. 3 men, all armed, closing in on the shed. Carter whispered, "They found us." The lights flickered. The ground vibrated as footsteps approached above. Carter grabbed my arm. "Evelyn, listen to me. You are the only person alive who can expose them." His voice dropped to a near whisper. "So whatever happens next, do not let them capture you." The trapdoor rattled. Dust fell from the ceiling. A shadow moved above us. And then, bang! The door blew open. Carter shoved me behind the file cabinets, just as armed boots stormed down the stairs. Shouts filled the room. I tried not to scream. All I could do was clutch the tablet, the truth, against my chest. Daniel's last words echoed in my mind. "Whatever they tell you, don't believe them. Just run." And then someone shouted, "There she is!" The moment the men spotted me, everything exploded into chaos. "Get her!" One of them barked, lunging forward. Before he could reach me, Carter slammed into him from the side, tackling him to the floor. Another man launched himself down the stairs, firing a stun weapon that cracked against the metal wall behind me. "Evelyn, run!" Carter shouted. I didn't think. I bolted. My shoulders slammed into the file cabinets, almost knocking them over as I stumbled toward the back of the bunker. The tablet was still clutched in my hand, the only evidence Daniel left behind. Behind me, the room filled with shouts, grunts, and the thud of bodies hitting concrete. Carter yelled, "Do not let them take her." But they were overpowering him. I could hear it. 3 against 1. Heavy boots. A groan of pain. A crash of metal. My breath was ragged as I searched the walls for a door, a vent, anything. Then, I saw it. A narrow emergency exit hatch built into the corner wall with a small wheel lock. Daniel had designed everything in this bunker. It made sense he'd include a hidden escape route. I dropped to my knees, spun the wheel, yanked the hatch open. Footsteps thundered behind me. "Stop her!" I slipped inside and pulled the hatch shut from the inside just as a fist slammed into it. The tiny metal tunnel was barely big enough for me to crawl through. It smelled like dust and cold metal. The sound of pounding fists echoed as I crawled forward, heart racing, elbows scraping. "Evelyn!" Carter shouted somewhere behind the door. Then a cry of pain cut his voice short. I froze. "Carter!" Silence. My stomach twisted, but I forced myself to keep moving until I saw the faintest light ahead. The tunnel opened into a forest behind the shed. I crawled out, gasping as the cold night air hit my face. Leaves crunched. I spun around. A silhouette stepped out from behind a tree. Tall. Still. Watching me. My pulse spiked. "Who's there?" The figure slowly raised both hands. "It's me." The voice was familiar. Too familiar. My knees almost buckled. "Carter!" I whispered. He stepped forward, breathing hard, a cut on his cheek, his shirt torn. "They left me for dead," he said quietly. I barely got away. Relief crashed into me, so hard I almost cried. He approached carefully, hand still up. "Give me the tablet," he whispered urgently. "We have to destroy it before they use it." My relief evaporated. Instantly, something in his voice, cold, sharp, controlled, didn't sound like the man who had just risked his life to save me. I stepped back. "No," I said. His expression twitched. "Evelyn, hand it to me. Daniel told me what's on there." He paused. He trusted me with this. But Daniel's last message, his voice in the recording, his warning, trust no one who stands too close, not even the ones who say they're protecting you. I swallowed. "Carter, what was Daniel's last message to you?" He blinked. "He told me to protect you. Word for word," I said, my voice shaking. "What did he say word for?" "Word." A long, tense silence. Then Carter smiled, but not kindly, not gently, not like the man I'd known for years. It was a thin, chilling smile. "Daniel didn't trust you with that part," he said softly. "He trusted me." My stomach dropped. This wasn't Carter. Not the Carter I knew. This was someone else. Someone who had been waiting for the right moment to show his true face. And he took one step toward me. "Evelyn," he said quietly, "you have no idea what you're holding. Give me the tablet." I backed away. "No." He sighed. "Then we do this the hard way. He lunged. I turned and ran. Branches whipped my arms. Cold air clawed at my throat. The forest spun past me in streaks of dark and silver. Behind me, his footsteps thundered. He was faster, stronger, trained. I wasn't going to outrun him. But Daniel's voice echoed in my head, clear, urgent. Don't run blind. Run smart. My eyes darted through the trees. Then I saw it. A steep drop ahead, a ravine cutting through the woods. If I timed it right, Evelyn! Carter shouted behind me. I didn't look back. I sprinted straight toward the edge. At the last second, I grabbed the branch of a low tree, swung my weight sideways, and dove into a thick bush just as Carter barreled past me, and plummeted over the ravine. His scream was swallowed by the darkness below. I lay there gasping, trembling, clutching the tablet so hard my fingers cramped. Was he alive? Had he fallen to his death? I didn't wait to find out. I stood, stumbled forward, and whispered to myself, I need to hear the rest of that message. I pressed play. Daniel's voice filled the night. If you're listening to this, then the man you're running from isn't Carter. My blood turned to ice. I turned slowly, because I had no idea who I pushed off that cliff. Daniel's voice echoed through the dark woods, trembling but urgent. If you're listening to this, the man chasing you isn't Carter. My hands went cold. I stared at the tablet, breath shallow, heart pounding like a trapped animal. Daniel continued, They can copy codes. They can copy signatures. But they can't copy scars. Carter has a scar on his left wrist from the plane crash. I froze. The man who chased me, who called himself Carter, the man I pushed over the ravine. He didn't have any scar, not even a faint one. Daniel's voice grew shakier, as if recorded during his final moments. If he's there, if he's close to you, run. Carter would never ask you for the tablet. Never. The trees around me suddenly felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. I whispered into the night. Then where's the real Carter? The tablet beeped. Another message automatically queued up. This one was shorter and far more panicked. Ev, if you get this, they've already taken Carter. They know you exist. They know what you mean to me. I stumbled back a step. To him. What I meant to him. Daniel kept talking, voice raw. I'm sorry I never told you. But you are the only one I trusted with everything. My research. My life. And Carter. Carter promised to protect you if anything happened to me. A twig snapped behind me. My blood froze. It wasn't the wind. I spun around. A silhouette stood between the trees. Tall. Still. Not moving. Not speaking. Just watching. And this time, I could feel the malice in the air. My voice trembled. Carter! The figure stepped forward into the pale moonlight, and my heart almost stopped. It was Carter. The real one. Messy hair. Bruised face. Dirt on his clothes. And a deep scar on his left wrist. Just like Daniel said. His voice cracked. Ev, thank God. I've been trying to find you. I didn't move. Couldn't. He raised both hands slowly, palms out. A gesture of peace. They kept me locked in a storage room, he whispered. They used my ID, my badge, everything. They wanted access to the bunker. To Daniel's files. To you. My pulse thudded in my ears. You didn't chase me? Carter shook his head. No. That wasn't me. His voice broke. That thing was wearing my clothes. My watch. They drugged me and left me to die. My knees weakened. The realization hit. I had pushed the wrong man over the ravine. But before I could speak, Carter stepped closer, lowering his voice urgently. Ev, listen to me. There's something you need to know. He paused, breath shaking. Daniel didn't die because of an accident. My chest tightened. What are you talking about? Carter swallowed like the words physically hurt. Daniel was killed. The world tilted. No. Every report said it was an explosion. A malfunction. A tragic freak accident. But Carter kept talking. Fast, like he'd been holding the secret for too long. He found something. Something about the organization he worked for. Something they didn't want him to reveal. He pointed at the tablet. And he left the proof with you. My voice cracked. What did he find? Carter opened his mouth to answer. Crack. A gunshot ripped through the silence. Carter jerked, eyes wide. Another shot. He crashed to his knees. No and no! I screamed, diving toward him. But a harsh voice echoed through the trees. Drop the tablet, Evelyn. I froze. Slowly I lifted my head. A man stepped out from behind the trees, dressed in all black, wearing night vision goggles. And beside him stood the most shocking figure of all. My breath left my body. Daniel! He wasn't dead. He was standing in front of me. Alive. Breathing. Watching me. My world shattered. My voice broke into a whisper. Daniel, you're alive! He stared at me with an expression I'd never seen on his face. Cold. Empty. Almost disappointed. I told you not to open the tablet, he said quietly. You weren't supposed to know the truth yet. Carter, bleeding on the ground, whispered. Ev, run! But I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Could only stare at the man I had mourned for months, who now looked at me like I was a problem he needed to solve. Daniel stepped forward. Evelyn, he said softly, I never wanted you to be part of this. My hands trembled around the tablet. The man I loved wasn't dead. He was something worse, and he was walking toward me slowly, purposefully, like a man approaching a cage he thought was already locked. Daniel walked toward me with slow, careful steps, like I was some frightened animal he didn't want to spook. But his eyes, those eyes weren't the man I knew. They weren't warm, or loving, or gentle. They were calculating, a scientist examining a specimen. Evelyn, he said softly, almost kindly, put the tablet down. I shook my head, backing away. Stay away from me. What is this? What did you do? Daniel sighed. Not guilty, not apologetic, but annoyed. I tried to keep you out of this, he said. I tried to protect you. But you never listen. You never could. Carter groaned behind me, bleeding into the dirt. You monster, he whispered. You killed them. All those people. You let them blame the lab. Daniel didn't even look at him. Collateral damage, he said flatly. They were going to expose the project. I couldn't let that happen. My stomach twisted. Collateral damage. He said it like he was talking about broken glass. Not human lives. Not my life. I pointed at the tablet with a shaking hand. You left this for me. Why? Why send that message? Daniel's expression finally cracked. Not with emotion. With frustration. I didn't send it to you, he said coldly. I sent it to Carter. The world tilted. What? Daniel continued. The voice recognition failed. The tablet delivered it to the wrong emergency contact. I blinked. Wrong contact. Daniel's voice hardened. You were never supposed to hear any of that. My heart shattered in a new way. I wasn't his first call. I wasn't his last goodbye. I wasn't even someone he trusted. I was just married to him. And Carter! I whispered. Why him? Daniel didn't hesitate. Because Carter was part of the project. My breath left my body. I looked at Carter. His pale face twisted in pain. Ev, I left. I didn't want the blood on my hands. Daniel wouldn't stop. Daniel snapped. He betrayed us when he walked away. No. I had spent months grieving a man who wasn't dead, and standing on top of a secret I never asked for. Daniel stepped closer again. Give me the tablet, Evelyn. His voice dropped to a chilling calm. It contains all the proof, all the research, all the names. If it gets out, everything falls apart. I clutched it tighter. Good, I whispered. Let it fall. The look he gave me then, a mix of disbelief and disappointment, was worse than anger. You're hurting the wrong person, he said. I am trying to save us. The air grew colder. Save us. I spat. You faked your death. You let me mourn you. You let me think I lost you. And now you're pointing guns at people. Daniel didn't flinch. I did what I had to do. He motioned to the armed man beside him. Take the tablet. The man stepped toward me. Something inside me snapped. Months of grief. Shock. Pain. Fear. Humiliation. All of it hardened into something sharper. I raised the tablet high and smashed it against a rock with everything I had. It cracked. Sparks flew. The screen died. Daniel's face contorted, the first real emotion I'd seen from him. Evelyn! I staggered back, breathing hard. It's over, I said. You can't control me anymore. Daniel stared at the broken tablet like a parent mourning a dead child. Then his eyes slid up to me. Cold. Razor sharp. Dangerous. You think this stops anything? He whispered. You think I don't have backups? Redundancies? The project continues with or without me. Then he added, with a terrifying calm, But you? You're a loose end. My blood went cold. He nodded once to the gunman. Finish it! The man raised his weapon. Carter screamed, Evelyn, run! And I did. I ran into the woods, heart slamming, breath tearing out of my lungs, as the man I once loved ordered my death. Without a second thought, branches whipped against my face as I sprinted through the woods, every breath burning my lungs. Behind me, I heard the gunman crashing through leaves, steady, deliberate, a predator closing in. My legs trembled, but fear kept them moving. Daniel's voice echoed through the trees behind me. Evelyn, stop running. It won't save you. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The night was so dark it felt alive, swallowing sound, swallowing hope, swallowing me. My foot slipped on wet leaves and I stumbled, catching myself on a tree trunk. A gunshot split the air. Bark exploded beside my head. I gasped and pushed off the tree, running deeper into the forest. Carter's weak voice rang out far behind. Ev, don't let him win. I didn't know if he was alive, bleeding out, dying. But I knew one thing. If Daniel reached me, I was done. The path narrowed ahead. I pushed through branches until I saw it. A tiny clearing lit by moonlight. A moment of space. A moment of clarity. And then I heard it. Crunch. Not leaves. Not footsteps. Two people. One on my left. One on my right. I froze. The gunman's voice growled from the shadows. It's over, Evelyn. My mind spun. Two of them? Daniel wasn't chasing alone. Then Daniel's calm, measured voice echoed from the opposite direction. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. He sounded like a doctor soothing a patient before an injection. A terrifying, rehearsed gentleness. I stepped back, heart hammering. Why are you doing this? I shouted. Why me? Daniel didn't hesitate. Because you know enough to ruin everything. I felt my stomach drop. You could have told me the truth, I said breathlessly. I could have helped you. No, Daniel said. You're too emotional. You always were. The insult cut deeper than any threat. Daniel, I whispered. I loved you. He stepped closer, his face emerging from the dark. And that's exactly why this is so simple, he said quietly. You won't fight me. The gunman stepped forward too, closing the circle. I backed toward the edge of a clearing, only to feel empty air behind me. A steep drop. Daniel's eyes flicked past me. He smirked. Nowhere left to run. My pulse roared in my ears. Below the cliff was a rocky slope leading down into a river. Dangerous. Stupid. But staying was worse. The gunman raised his weapon. Goodbye, Evelyn. Something in me snapped. I stepped backward and jumped. The world exploded into motion. Branches slammed against me. Rocks scraped my arms. I slid, rolled, bounced, hit the ground hard. Pain rippled through me, white hot, but I was alive. Gunshots fired above, but the angle was too steep. They couldn't see me. I heard Daniel's furious voice. Fan out. She's injured. She won't get far. I dragged myself toward the river, every muscle screaming. The cold water blasted against me as I stepped in. It hurt. It shocked. But it also hid my tracks. I moved downstream, half walking, half floating, just trying to stay conscious. My mind echoed with Daniel's words. You're a loose end. The man I loved, the man I mourned, the man I trusted, wanted me dead. Not because I knew too much, but because I finally knew the truth. Daniel wasn't protecting a secret. Daniel was the secret. And if he had killed for it once, he'd kill for it again. I had to survive the night. I had to find help. I had to expose everything. But as I drifted down the river, shaking uncontrollably, I realized something worse. The real reason Daniel wanted me gone wasn't about the tablet, wasn't about the project, wasn't even about the organization. It was something far more personal. Something he whispered only to Carter before the explosion. If Evelyn ever finds out, she'll never forgive me. And suddenly I knew. This nightmare wasn't about science. It was about me. The river carried me farther than I expected. Cold water soaked my clothes, numbing everything, my skin, my mind, my fear. But not enough to quiet Daniel's last words to Carter. If Evelyn ever finds out, she'll never forgive me. Those words looped in my head like a broken record as I dragged myself out onto the muddy bank. What truth was worse than murder? Worse than betrayal? Worse than faking his own death? My breath trembled in the freezing air. I stumbled toward a cluster of trees, using roots as crutches. I needed shelter. I needed warmth. I needed to think. But every thought led to a door Daniel had slammed shut for decades. Our marriage. Our life. Our past. Daniel had never let me near certain parts of it. Certain files. Certain memories. Certain questions. And suddenly, they didn't feel random anymore. I sat against a tree, dripping, shaking, trying to stay conscious, trying to piece together the truth he never wanted me to see. My thoughts blurred, until a sudden crack of twigs snapped me alert. I held my breath. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Searching. I pressed myself into the shadows. A beam of a flashlight glided across the trees, only a few feet away. One of Daniel's men. "Tracks end at the river," he muttered into a radio. She couldn't have gone far. I froze. Another voice crackled through the radio. "Daniel, I don't need her found. I need her confirmed. Confirmed. Confirmed dead." My pulse pounded, so loud I worried they could hear it. After a long moment, the man moved on, his flashlight beam fading. I exhaled shakily. If I wanted answers, if I wanted the truth, if I wanted even a chance of survival, I needed to know what Daniel was hiding from me. So I forced my mind to rewind. Back to the marriage. Back to the patterns. Back to the red flags I buried because I loved him. And then, something clicked. Daniel had always been obsessed with keeping me away from a specific year of his life. A whole year he never talked about. A year before we met. Whenever I asked, even casually, he would deflect. "Does it matter? It was a long time ago. Let's not dig up the past." But I remember the one time he slipped. It was years ago. Wine. Dinner. Laughter. And then out of nowhere, his expression collapsed. He whispered, "If you knew who I was back then, you'd never stay." At the time, I thought he meant youthful mistakes. Immaturity. Bad choices. But now, that line sounded like a warning. My breath hitched. What if Daniel wasn't worried about the project leaking? What if the project wasn't his biggest secret? What if I was? My hands shook. I dug through my pocket and pulled out a small, waterproof pouch, the one Daniel made me attach to my hiking jacket months ago for emergencies. Inside was something I had forgotten. A folded metal key. Daniel had given it to me years ago and said, "If anything happens to me, this opens the truth." I always thought he meant a safe, or a locker, or documents. But now, I wasn't sure if he meant answers, or a trap. I stared at the key, heart hammering, as the wind rattled the leaves around me. What truth had he locked away? What past was he willing to kill to protect? And then, a memory slammed into me, so hard I gasped. Something he said in the first voice note. "I'm sorry I never told you, but you are the only one I trusted with everything." Everything. Everything including. My breath caught. Carter had said something else too. Daniel wasn't protecting a secret. Daniel was the secret. Slowly, painfully, the pieces began to align. Daniel had a year he erased from his life. A year he refused to speak about. A year before I met him. A year tied to me, more than I ever realized. Because suddenly I remembered something. Something buried deep. Something I hadn't thought about in decades. When I first met Daniel, he already knew my name. He had pretended it was coincidence. But what if it wasn't? What if Daniel had known me? Long. Before I ever knew him. A shiver crawled down my spine. Not from the cold. From the truth forming in my mind. Daniel didn't fall in love with me. He selected me. The key felt heavy in my palm. Colder than the night. Sharper than the fear crawling up my spine. Daniel had chosen me. Not loved me. Not found me. Not accidentally crossed my path. Chosen. Selected. Targeted. The wind hissed through the trees as if whispering, "Why you?" I dragged myself to my feet and leaned against the trunk, forcing my mind to dig deeper. Back to the very first day I met Daniel. We were at the university library. He bumped into me, apologized, laughed nervously. At the time, it felt like a cute, awkward coincidence. But now, I saw it clearly. His eyes didn't show surprise. They showed recognition. Back then, I dismissed it. People sometimes look familiar, right? But now I couldn't shake the truth. Daniel knew who I was before he ever spoke to me. The ground shifted under my feet. I whispered to the empty forest. Why me? A memory surfaced. Something I hadn't thought about in years. 24 years ago, before I married Daniel, my mother swore a strange man used to linger near our street, watching, following, vanishing when noticed. I laughed it off, told her she was being dramatic, but now it didn't sound dramatic at all. It sounded like a pattern. I closed my eyes, breathing shakily, when another memory hit me. One I had buried, because it never made sense. 8 years into our marriage, Daniel woke from a nightmare. Sweating, shaking, repeating the same words. She wasn't supposed to see. She wasn't supposed to see. I thought he was talking about work. But what if he wasn't? What if he was talking about the past? My chest tightened painfully. I pulled out the key again, holding it up to the moonlight. On the side was a number I never paid attention to. Z47. Not a safe number. Not a locker. A facility code. My stomach dropped. Daniel didn't hide money, or files, or documents. He hid a location, and I knew exactly where. 20 years ago, he took me to a research building for a tour, but never let me inside. He said it wasn't ready. He said it was unsafe. He said it was classified. But during the drive, I saw the sign on the gate. Zone 47, authorized entry only. My hands trembled violently. That entire year, the year Daniel erased, he worked at Zone 47, and he never let me near it. Not once. A cold wave washed over me as the truth crystallized. Zone 47 wasn't just a workplace. It was connected to me. My heartbeat thundered painfully. I whispered into the empty woods. Daniel, what did you do? Another memory slammed into me. Years ago, during an argument, he yelled, I built this life for you. You'd have nothing without me. At the time, I thought it was cruelty, manipulation. But now it sounded like a confession, like he had interfered in my life, long before he had the right to. The water dripped off my clothes as I shivered, connecting the dots. What if Daniel had watched me, tracked me, chosen me for something? And what if Zone 47 was the reason? My breath hitched. Suddenly I understood the real danger. Daniel didn't want the tablet back because of the research. He wanted it back because I was mentioned in it. Carter had said Daniel was the secret. But what if the real secret was something else? Something Daniel couldn't let me discover. Something about who he was, and who I was to him. My hand clenched around the key. I whispered to myself, I have to go to Zone 47. A branch snapped. I froze. Daniel's voice echoed distantly through the forest. She won't survive the cold. Keep searching. They were closing in. I pushed away from the tree, forcing my weak legs to move. Every step hurt. Every breath burned. But I had no choice. If I didn't reach Zone 47, Daniel's version of the truth would be the only one left. And mine would die with me. The forest thinned as I limped forward, the river beside me roaring like a warning. My body felt bruised, frozen, barely functional. But fear pushed me on. Zone 47. The key. The erased year. Daniel's nightmare words. She wasn't supposed to see. All of it led to one truth Daniel never wanted me to uncover. The moonlight glinted off the metal around my neck as I pushed deeper into the woods. I had only one thought. If I don't reach Zone 47, I'll die without knowing who I really married. And maybe, who I really was. After almost an hour of stumbling through the forest, I reached an old service road. The same road Daniel once drove me down years ago. Smiling, calm, pretending everything was normal. Now the road felt haunted. I forced myself forward until my legs gave out, and I collapsed onto the gravel. I lay there, panting, staring up at the sky. That's when headlights appeared far down the road. I scrambled behind a rock, heart slamming. A black SUV rolled past slowly. Daniel's men. They were searching for me, waiting for me to freeze to death, waiting to confirm I was gone. The vehicle disappeared around a bend. I exhaled shakily, crawled out, and kept going. After another 30 minutes, I saw it. A rusty metal gate with a faded sign barely visible in the moonlight. Zone 47. Authorized entry only. My blood ran cold. It was real. Still standing. Still guarded by shadows of a past I never understood. I fumbled for the key. My hands were numb, shaking. It took 3 tries to fit the key into the lock. When it clicked, something inside me clicked too. I pushed the gate open. Hinges screamed. The sound echoed through the empty night. The place was dead silent. No guards. No lights. No cameras. Just a long abandoned research building. And the ghosts inside it. I stepped into the corridor. The air smelled of rust, dust, and something older. Something forgotten. Broken lights hung from the ceiling. Doors were welded shut. Windows were covered in metal sheets. Whatever happened here, they hadn't wanted anyone to come back. My footsteps echoed as I moved deeper. Then I saw it. A single door at the end of a hallway. Fresh lock. Not rusted. Not old. Someone had maintained this room. My pulse quickened. I raised the key. The lock clicked. The door creaked open. It wasn't a lab. Not a storage room. Not an office. It was a file room. Rows and rows of cabinets. All labeled with numbers and codes. I stepped forward, scanning them. Column AF. Dates from decades ago. Projects long buried. Then my eyes caught it. A single drawer. Pulled slightly open. Labeled. E24. E. Evelyn. Age 24. The year before I met Daniel. My breath caught in my throat. No, no, no. I pulled the drawer open with trembling hands. Inside were several files, all stamped with the same words. Patient record. Confidential. Zone 47. My vision blurred. I grabbed the top file, the one labeled E24. And the moment I opened it, my entire life shattered. Inside the file was a photograph of me at 24. But it wasn't a photo I recognized. I wasn't smiling. I wasn't posing. It was a surveillance photo. A report titled Medical Documents with Terms I Didn't Understand. Tracking logs. Dates. Times. Locations where I had been monitored. My heartbeat roared. No, this couldn't be real. Then I saw the last page. Daniel's handwriting. A single line. Subject approved for long-term integration. Proceed with asset pairing. Asset. Pairing. Not marriage. Not love. Not fate. A project. A plan. A selection. My voice broke in the silent room. Daniel, what did you do to me? But the final page was the one that destroyed me. Signature, D. Haynes. Role, lead behavioral architect. Project, Eve01. Eve. Evelyn. 01. Daniel stepped into the doorway of Zone 47, his shadow stretching across the floor as if it owned the room. I was still on my knees, files scattered around me. Proof that my entire life had been engineered, monitored, selected. Proof that my marriage was never love, it was a project. He looked at me the way a scientist looks at a broken instrument. You weren't supposed to see any of this, Evelyn. My voice cracked. So you chose me because I was useful. Daniel didn't even blink. You were stable. Predictable. You responded exactly the way our models projected. You weren't a wife. You were the one subject who never failed. Something inside me shattered so quietly, so deeply, it felt like a piece of my soul turned to ash. Before Daniel could move closer, a voice echoed from the hall, weak, pained, but alive. Step away from her. Carter staggered in, leaning against the wall, blood running down his arm. Daniel laughed at him. You can't even stand. But Carter wasn't trying to fight. He pulled something from his pocket, a small transmitter, and pressed the button. Sirens exploded through the facility. Bright lights flickered on. The ground seemed to shake beneath us. I stared at him. What did you just do? Carter's voice trembled with pain, but he managed to smile. I sent an emergency ping. The FBI now knows Zone 47 is active, and your files are still here. Daniel's face drained of color. His entire world, his power, his secrets, his control, crumbled in seconds. Heavy footsteps, thundered outside the room. Federal agents! Put your hands up! Daniel lunged toward a drawer, but agents stormed in, tackling him to the ground. He screamed like a man losing something he believed he owned. You're making a mistake. She belongs to the program. She was designed. She was mine. I looked at him, this man I mourned, loved, trusted, and all I saw was a stranger. No, I whispered. I belong to myself. Daniel was dragged out, still screaming. The same man who once held my hand every night now looked at me like I was the enemy of his life's work. Months later, my world is nothing like the one he built for me. I live in a quiet apartment on the coast, where the ocean drowns out old memories. I go to therapy. I walk in the sun. I sleep without someone tracking my heartbeat. Carter survived and testified. Daniel and his entire organization collapsed. Zone 47 was demolished. For the first time in decades, the files with my name belonged to me, not to him. One evening, standing on the beach, I let the cold waves wash over my feet. The wind lifted my hair, the sky was turning orange, and for the first time, it didn't hurt to breathe. My life was never yours, Daniel, I whispered into the sea. You didn't create me. You didn't own me. And you will never control me again. Then I turned away from the water and walked forward toward a life that finally belonged to me.